слухачі контакту. Мене звати Олександра Holyk, і сьогодні я маю нагоду признайомити вас із Наталією Onyszhuk, яка недавно виграла нагороду від Holodomor Research and Education Consortium за плану року на тему «Вивчення теми Голодомору у школі». Привіт, Наталю, and thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor that you're interested in the lessons.
So would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers and listeners before we get into the interview?
Certainly. I wore many hats throughout my life, and professionally, I actually started off after university working in the inner city with hard-to-house and homeless seniors, and had several jobs working with seniors in a management way. Finally, I answered my call to teaching, and it's been just a wonderful journey for me. One thing that's remained constant throughout all of my years is music and singing. So I sing with several choirs, and it's part of my everyday life.
So I want to congratulate you on being one of the 2020 recipients of the HREC Educator Award for Holodomor Lesson Plan Development. How did you come to apply for this award, and what was the process like?
Well, it all started off by being inspired by Valentina Kureliv, who's the Holodomor Research and Education Consortium Director of Education. And I saw her speaking at a conference in Toronto, and it just inspired me to develop lesson plans. So way back in 2012 and 2013, I developed a series of lesson plans called Natalia and Hope. And that was way before the award even existed. So I had done that, and the more and more I heard Valentina, the ideas started flowing and flowing. And then finally I applied for the award. And it's a very easy process. You go onto the website holodomor.ca, and all of the information is there. There's sort of a checklist of items that have to be included in the lesson plans. And then I forgot about it. So I was very happy to and honored to hear the news.
That's great. Would you mind briefly telling us about what your lesson plan entails for students?
Certainly. The lessons all started off with a song that I wrote. And I remember it just came to me, the words I worked on, and several friends and fellow teachers helped me with the lyrics. My cousin James French helped me with the music, and he wrote out the piano score for me. And there was nothing for children to sing about the Holodomor when we were doing the commemorations. There would be songs, but they would be too adult or they would be too difficult, and they didn't always understand. So the lyrics in a way tell a story, and they have a message of hope and a message of strength for the children to make sure that these atrocities, these genocides don't happen again. Then the lessons came about because how could I get the children to sing a song without knowing what the words mean, what the lyrics are about? And that's how the language arts components of the lesson plans came into being. And then music, of course, they have to have the musicality and the expression to get the message across. And finally, art is the best way for children to express themselves. So I have an art component to the lessons also.
And have you been able to put this lesson plan into action yet?
Well, I did in a funny sort of way, because each time I would teach the song, I would go through all of these processes with them. So that was for my choir usually. So this year, I'm looking forward to putting the process into my grade 4 class. I used to be the music teacher at our school, and due to budget cuts, it's a very difficult time, they cut the music teacher position. So I'm now working just with grade 4s, and it's wonderful because I'll be able to, they're in the English program, not the Ukrainian program, and it'll be eye-opening for them. So this will be part of an experiment, I should say. But the other part that did happen is the art component. Our school implemented the art lesson. They took a section of each lyric, and each class drew pictures and made art based on those lyrics. And we had a whole school event commemoration for Holodomor. It was a very moving time.
Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to potentially hearing about the students' experiences with the new songs that you've written and the lesson plans that you've composed. This seems like a very thorough and educational plan, which is really important for students learning about the Holodomor. Now, let's shift the focus to our older students. What are some ways you suggest that Ukrainian students in university and college educate their fellow non-Ukrainian classmates on the travesties of Holodomor?
Well, as a teacher, the first thing I would say, make sure you know your information and where to find it, and have that kind of at your fingertips. But what I would do is make connections with other groups. April is, what is it called? Genocide. Oh, I have to figure out what it's called, but it's basically Genocide Day, Awareness Day for all of Canada. And so that is one thing I would do. And I would reach out to different communities, because each community that has experienced genocides has their own month and time frame. So you might want to go and be a guest speaker at one of their events. I know it would have to be virtually now, but that would be a great option. The other is to not forget the Indigenous population that experienced cultural genocide. And it even brought into mind my mom telling me how she was a young girl on the prairies, and at school they weren't allowed to speak English. So there are other groups that if we form bonds and form connections, I think that's the best way to make it a world event.
And what are some examples that you've seen in the past that students have done as a way of commemorating the Holodomor in their communities?
Well, I haven't seen the older students as much because I'm always focused on my little elementary kids. But our school, I have to brag about St. Matthew's School, because our teachers have taken Holodomor and have found ingenious ways of teaching. One year, it wasn't our idea, but it was Bishop David's and the Edmonton Catholic School trustees. But we joined with Ben Calf Robe and had bannock and borscht. So the Indigenous children had drumming and dancing, and we shared our Ukrainian Dance Academy, and then we shared in the meal. So it was a wonderful experience. We've also used other ideas from other schools. At Toronto, the Forget-Me-Not Flowers. We always include a charity, a food drive, big part of it. One year we gathered cereals and gave them to another school that had a breakfast program. And then lately we've been doing different types of art installations. We've done Holodomor spoons. We've done a cross where every child in the school glued a tiny little piece of glass or marble onto a cross, and the cross stands in our school. And we also have 2 windows that were painted by every child in the school, hanging in the front foyer. And one is sort of blue, a little bit sad, and then the other is golden with hope, and the colors of the Ukrainian flag. So our school it's a very strong team, wonderful ideas coming through with all of the teachers.
Yeah, these definitely sound like great ideas. So it'll be interesting to see what students and community members come up with this year to commemorate the Holodomor during the pandemic.
That is also a big challenge, yes. I have to admit, we're trying to think out of the box.
For sure. Thanks again for taking the time to chat today.
Well, thank you so much for your interest.
Для контакт, я Alexandra Holyk.